Okay, so I should be live right now, and if I am, welcome to the stream. So today we are ranking every. Wait, is it? Wait, guys, is it live? Real quick, is it live? It should be live. It very much should be live, and you guys should be watching the stream right now. I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if it's working. I think it is. I don't know if that's okay, it should be working. It very much should be. Okay, it actually is working. Chat, let's go. Finally it's working. Okay, anyways, right now we are, if you haven't noticed already, we are ranking every single story. Let me reload to see if the chat's gonna appear finally on my second device so I can read chat. Okay, no chat yet, but that's fine because I didn't really expect people to join the stream that much. I just read all the books, and besides making theories, I don't really know what to do with all this knowledge, so I just decided to rank it, you know. So hi, it's Char. What's up, Double? Yes, we're ranking all of the stories. Also, the little mimic guy right here, that's just gonna be the epilogues. So all the books at the end, all the little stories at the end. So the first one we are ranking is Frailty. This little gem over here. So Frailty is about a girl. Count the Ways better be S tier. This is Tales of the PizzaPlex. But Count the Ways is, not to argue with you, but Count the Ways is, I feel like it's fine. Like, I feel like the whole, I just feel like it's fine. Not like the best. And hello, Char. So, Frailty, let me explain it real quick. Frailty is about a girl. I've explained Frailty way too much on my channel. But anyways, Frailty is about a girl named Jessica that gets a heart-shaped pendant made of remnant. And whenever she uses it, let me close this off real quick. Whenever she uses it, she becomes more and more frail. In the namesake. So she becomes more and more frail. Wait, let me make this bigger real quick. Sorry, this is a little bit trippy. I want to make it so you guys can see it more. This should be a lot better. Okay, it should be better right now. Okay. Anyway, so Frailty is about a girl named Jessica that gets a pendant made of remnant, and when she has the pendant and it can heal her. I know the more she uses it to heal others, the more frail she becomes. But anyways, the story itself is not the focus of why I like it. The reason why is because of the lore. It has some implications, like even in the early times that Faster Frights are canon to the games, because because Frailty has, if you don't know, has huge connections to Faster Frights, of course, because to be beautiful, they both have heart-shaped pendants that can heal them, blah blah blah. There's just a lot of connections there. And so Frailty, basically when it came out, was saying, hey, if Tales of the PizzaPlex are canon to the games, that means that some Faster Frights are also canon, and or like a rebooted version of them. So that's why I like it. And I feel like because of Into the Pit, I'm beginning to be very convinced that the Tales of the Pizza, that some of the Stitch Race stingers are canon to the games. So because of that, because I feel like it's very lore filled, I'm gonna put it in lore filled right there. There you go, my first ranking. Next one is Lally's Game. That was certainly an interesting read. Like, I kind of got what was happening, but halfway through it, I kind of didn't. So, okay, it's about a girl that she's married to the guy that's basically the definition of a Sigma Chad. Like, they literally said he has, like, a chiseled chin and stuff. I don't know. It just reminds me of it kind of feels like the authors just Googled Giga Chad and just made it into the main character's husband. So the main character, she finds a luggage of her husband, which has like a character name like quote unquote Lally, which if you don't know, a Lally is kind of funny because it's also part of, let's see it, look at, so this is the only other time we've heard of Lally, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of random, but there it is. So it's random, but I don't know. It's weird that they both have a connection. And the description for Lally in Tales of PizzaPlex is it's pretty actually similar to Little Joe, which is his name, funny enough. And so it actually kind of makes sense for Lally, and it's the book Lally's game to be Little Joe, as in the central location puppet, which but overall there's not really any lore, and I feel like even though some people like it, I feel like the whole villain may have not existed. Like, that's the whole point of the story. It's the whole villain could have just been someone's imagination, or or the main character's murderous husband, one of those two. So that's why I'm putting it. It was fine. It was fine. It was good as what it needed to be. It was good. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I checked that. I think it's because no one's messaging, but that's fine. I'm gonna have to get used to chat being dead. Anyways, Under Construction. That was a weird read. If you haven't read Under Construction, go do that right now. Just because you're bored and you wanna feel weird. So, Under Construction is about a girl named Maya that goes into a VR headset. No, AR headset. VR, AR. It's interchangeably in FNAF, okay? And Security Breach is very interchangeably. So in that story, she goes in it and then she exits, but she keeps getting headaches where the headband is. So it's very heavily applied throughout the story that she's still in this like augmented reality VR thing, even while she thinks it's real life. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening in the story. But it's really weird because as the days go on in Under Construction, things get more and more weird. Also, if you're quick, just random side note, if you're watching the stream, you guys don't need to watch it. You guys can just listen to it by doing other stuff. But please don't leave, guys. I have 2 viewers, which is kind of sad. But what did I expect? It's a ranking video in like the middle of a school day. That was kind of a stupid idea on my part. Whatever, I'm gonna rank it. So Under Construction, it goes to WTF, what the fish, because of how weird it is. There's this one scene where as the days go on, things get more and more weird. Maya, the main character, her family all get cancer, and like basically everyone in the world gets cancer and dies. But like the news station is perfectly fine with it, and everyone is. They're like, man, my mom just died of cancer. Oh yeah, my best friend just died of cancer. Oh yeah, I'm about to die of cancer. And no one really cares because it's like a weird glitched out reality. And then she starts seeing these blob things, and okay, quick. I don't know if this is gonna hopefully Under Construction for now. I just want you guys to see what it's described. This is what it's described in the books. Thank you, whoever made this. This is what is described in the books. It's like these blob creatures. It's so weird and random that I don't even know why it's there. So that's why it goes to the what the fish. Next we got Help Wanted. Help Wanted, I feel like was amazing. Let's make another. Let me make a. So lore filled, amazing storytelling and lore and amazing storytelling, and then lore and story and fun. I'm gonna say that lore and fun. I mean, it's very rudimentary and simple. I'm gonna put it like this. But it kind of sums up what it is. Let me do this actually. Which is what I think Help Wanted is. There's a lot of lore in it because it basically tells you the story of the Help Wanted indie game developer. Where I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's a little bit different from the games, but I think it's mostly because the writers had to change things up to make the book longer, and they didn't know all the pieces. As Scott said multiple times, that he doesn't give his authors all the pieces for the puzzles that he gives when he makes them do stuff, such as Security Breach, and that's why Security Breach turned out, Security Breach. But anyways, Hope Wanted is just really cool, as in, like, the main character is Steve Snodgrass, which is basically like his whole character in the books is basically just the story of Scott Cawthon and how like he grew up. Not really how he grew up. I don't know why I said that, but like how he was working at a gas station, not really making enough money, but then and of course not real life. Steve Snodgrass gets hired by Fast Entertainment to make FNAF games, and then he eventually he at first refuses, but then he goes to sleep and wakes up and he's like they act like he goes into this person's house, and then he gets like basically like tripped out with like an illusion disc, or either that or the nightmare gas I'm gonna get onto for in a little bit into Cleithrophobia. Okay, it's almost it's 1 a.m. for me. Please forgive me if I stutter a little bit. So there's probably some illusion gas in his home that made Steve Snodgrass, the character of the story, mistake the people in his life and mistake that the robots in his room as his family, and eventually he wants to leave. It's kind of actually thinking about it's like the exact Help One is almost the exact same plot as Cleithrophobia, but just some things switched up, which I'll get onto in a sec, because I literally just finished Cleithrophobia like an hour ago. So at the end of Help Wanted, what happens in the end of Help Wanted? In the end of Help Wanted, he's about to leave he wants to he wants to leave his house because he knows that all his family's all robots, but the radio voice that he's been listening to every day tells him, hey, they are robots, but they're the only family that's ever loved you and stuff like that. So he accepts that. He opens the door to his wife with using the power of the nightmare gas or whatever thing is making him see things that aren't real. He sees his wife as his wife, not his robot, and then he gives her a hug and she stabs him in the heart multiple times. It was a really good story. I think I'm gonna do overall perfect with Help Wanted. It was really good. Now Haps was a pretty good story, and I think people like it, but I feel like maybe it was just me, but it was a little bit confusing for me to read. I don't know. I felt like I kept not understanding what was happening. Maybe that's because of myself, but I feel like all the tubes and them continually going through the tubes in the story where I forgot who the characters are, to be honest. Haps was as memorable for me, but the two kids that keep going through a tube park, and then this little robot. Let me show you Haps. Haps, this little guy, he just kind of chases them, then he kills one of them. It's really brutal. Like, he uses his hand to chop off the feet of a little kid, and while the kid is like screaming in pain, he just like slices his back like 50 times. It's a dark story. You know, the more I think of it, the more I feel like it was pretty good. Mostly just the storytelling and how after he gets stabbed, the other kid just like runs around trying to escape Haps, but then like it ends on a cliffhanger, which he's probably gonna die, but we don't know for sure. Like, he says he doesn't know how much he can keep running, so I'll give that good. I'm not gonna say good, amazing anymore. Good storytelling, Haps. Okay, B7. Now this, I feel like as soon as I mention this, people are gonna be spamming the chat. And also, why is it no one talking? I feel so lonely in here. I feel like I'm talking to no one, even though I know there's some people watching. I feel like I'm talking to no one. Anyways, B7, I feel like it gets a lot of hate because of some drama with the story itself that I'm not gonna really get into because I don't want to get into drama on this channel. I'm not that channel, but it has some drama with its themes. But honestly, I think that when I read it, I wasn't really thinking about that, and I was just kind of thinking of it as a story itself, and I really liked it. Like, it was strange because the main character, he thinks he's the animatronic so much that he gets surgery to replace his body parts with the parts of animatronic and with like robot parts. And it's like a really interesting story, especially when in the very end, when he looks at his mirror and realizes he's not an animatronic, which is his whole life he's believed that he was an animatronic. He looks in the mirror and sees that he's not, and then he goes down to a trash. What are those places? A trash a trash area. I don't know how to explain it. And then he goes inside, and there's like a crusher that's crushing where he's in, but instead of running away, he kind of just accepts it. And then we don't know what happens in the end of the story, but I'll get into what actually happens later in B7-2. Yeah, that's been a while. I forgot that there was such a big gap between B7 and B7-2. So in the end of B7, we don't know what happens, but I just think it's a pretty good story. I don't feel like there's really any lore, so I'm just gonna put it good storytelling. Even though I feel like it's gonna be some hate for that. Okay, Somnophobia. Somnophobia is, I think it was a pretty good story, but the thing was, it kind of felt meaningless in a way to me. Like, I feel like, not gonna lie, just like listening to you talk. Thank you, Mr. The Gamer. Thank you very much. So Somnophobia, that story, there's not really any lore, and it wasn't really entertaining for me. I thought it was like fine, but it was fine. Like, I'm sorry for Somnophobia fans out there, but I mean the end is gruesome. Like, if you read the end of Somnophobia, this kid, I'll just explain it to you real quick so you guys don't have to sleep tonight. So this kid, he puts on this helmet, which, he puts on this, he's like going through this like VR thing, kind of. I don't know, it's like a weird orb that makes him like imagine things, and he's like sleeping almost, but then he feels everything that's happening to him in real time. And a dog comes over and like completely mauls him. Like, literally, it says that like it bit off his face, which is like, it describes in every detail. That book is like, that story is dark, but besides like all the gore that like kind of shocked me, like in a good way, I feel like there's nothing really in it, so I'm saying it was fine. It was better than WTF because of all of the gore in the end. Sorry, I just got used to the gore and I kind of like it now. I don't know. Please help. Said help ASAP. Now this Pressure is my favorite Tales of the PizzaPlex book and story ever. And there's like, I don't know. It's because one of the reasons was because the last couple of stories, it didn't really have anything to do with it didn't have anything to do with like the old FNAF games in general. But Pressure, Van Urban, how are you doing, man? I'm doing great. I'm about to talk about my favorite Tales of the PizzaPlex story, Pressure. So Pressure is about this guy Lucas who gets into like a spring-locked suit in the Mega PizzaPlex, and he goes inside, and then he gets spring-locked. But it's not just that. He's not dead yet. After he gets spring-locked, he's still alive for a little bit. And then he walks around, and he sees like a bunch of kids. And then he sees this man, which is basically William stand-in. I don't know if he's possessed by William. I don't know what he's doing. But he's just like a man that wants to kill children. It's kind of strange. But he wears like a weird spring trap costume. But like a one you find on Amazon, on like a real spring trap. So Lucas, he goes to the guy, and then Lucas, the main character of Pressure, literally pushes him off while wearing the spring-lock suit, the spring trap suit. So he's wearing the suit that William used to kill the children, and he's using that while he kills a guy that was about to kill children. So it's like everything's flipped. The main character is wearing the suit that the main villain of FNAF wore, while saving a child from an actual murderer. Perfect. I'm putting it before help. This is perfect. That's what I felt like with Pressure. I just felt chef's kiss. Okay, Cleithrophobia. That's another one that I loved. And this is why. Okay. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna rate them and then explain why. Cleithrophobia was perfect because I don't know about anyone to describe it. I think it's maybe just because I made this short about it that made me like it so much. But also if you read the book, it's such a good story. Like, Ballora grabs this guy while he's stuck in this tube as he's trying to he's like an engineer that's trying to fix it. And then she grabs him, but she doesn't know that. So apparently her AI can't tell that humans have pain. So she grabs his arms and just starts pulling him. And then he's just like, his bones start breaking apart, and he literally like the story is dark, man. Like, if you read it, it's crazy. She starts pulling his body. It, like, breaks apart like you break a Lego set. Like, literally every bone in his body breaks, and then his eyes literally get impaled by Ballura's fingers. It's a dark story, and they describe him as something twice his size. So, like, I see Slenderman images. So, like that's a sign of something that's, like, someone really big, right? You know? But, like, that's probably his size after he got, like, stretched by Ballura. Not, like, I don't know. It was a really cool story, in my opinion. Next up, Submechanophobia. I really like the story, and I'm gonna give it actually, I'm gonna put help wanted and lore and fun, because even though I feel like I would have liked it if I liked it more, I would have put it overall perfect. But Submechanophobia was also a lore and fun. Now looking back at it, it was more fun than it was reading it. You know what I mean? Like, looking back at it, the book itself was really cool, but I just didn't really have as much fun reading it. I don't know why, but Submechanophobia is a pretty good story. It's basically a parallel of what happened. A parallel of what happened with Mike and Henry and Fast Entertainment and all of that in the FNAF games. And basically, that story spawned a theory in Johnny the Night Guard. Johnny the Night Guard made a theory about this book. I think it's called. Wait, quick. What's the fear of animatronics called? Automatomophobia. That's automatomophobia. So Johnny the Night Guard, YouTuber that I did FNAF back with once, he made a theory about that and how Mike probably had automatomophobia while he worked as a night guard and at the various Freddy's locations. And that story, my favorite tales was the Tiger Rock. Yes, I'm gonna get into that soon, as I like Tiger Rock also. So long story short, Submechanophobia was pretty fun, so I'll put it there. Actually, I'm gonna go through these a little bit faster because I've noticed I've been taking so long on these little ones. Okay, Animatronic Apocalypse is WTF. If you've read that story, it is so random and weird. Like, why? Like, there's just no reason for it. It's just so garbage. I'm not trying to like be mean to the team at Scholastic or the writers or Scott, but it was just weird. Like, this, I don't even know how to explain it. These guys, like it's about this town. I feel like Scott Cawthon explaining Map at Impreg, where you're trying to defend yourself. It's like about this town that gets like possessed by like almost like a cult. That was a school after, like, the afternoon school session. The story itself is so weird, and I feel like there's no reason. Like, I feel like it adds nothing to the lore. Like, realistically, it adds nothing, and it doesn't really mean anything. I can't even explain it anymore. WTF. Just leave it on that. Bobby Dots Part 1 was like a new one. Let me say this is gonna be the quick. This is the. Wait, let me delete this. Okay. So, like, Bobby Dots Part 1 was okay. It wasn't the best. It could have been better. And I felt like, I don't know, it was kind of weird. But Bobby Dots Part 1. Well, I mean, I kind of actually liked Bobby Dots Part 1, to be honest. So I'm gonna put it with, I think it's an okay. Like, I liked it, but it was kind of meaningless. It's like eating a nothing burger. Like, yeah, it just could have been better, I think. Bobby Dots Part 1. It was fine, but there wasn't really, I don't feel like it adds anything to the major FNAF games. Also, real quick, let me preference this. I'm going with the idea that all of these are in the FNAF games. And all of the Tales of PizzaPlex books are in the games, which there's lots of proof for that, but I'm not gonna get into that today. And so let me actually, I forgot to do that, so let me go through and quickly say what each one adds to the lore. Pressure, it means that the Fast Entertainment has a real spring lock suit that they're not afraid to use. In Fast Entertainment, it's fine with people dying. If anything, Fast Entertainment is collecting remnant for something, which I might get to that later, which I think is probably the Mimic, but whatever. Cleithrophobia, it basically means that Fast Entertainment was making a lot of attractions to the PizzaPlex and switching them in and out. Cleithrophobia, I don't know. It shows that the Sheikah's maze size was the first maze, an exercise maze thing, and it was probably inspired by Bellora's fitness and flex. Okay, Help Wanted, it just gives us the backstory of the indie game developer from FNAF, Help Wanted, sorry, that was weird. I don't know, I was tripping there. It really just gives us the backstory of him and like just his character, and I thought it was pretty good. Animatronic, I think it's just a parallel to the games. I think it is in the games, but I think it's also another parallel. But also I just think that what it means is that, what does it mean? It means that there was another location of that there's many PizzaPlexes, and that many people are trying to rip off the PizzaPlex and make their own thing. Good. And Haps for me, it just basically means that the I feel like Haps is just another one of those instances where it just shows us how much the PizzaPlex can change, like how fast. Like Haps had a new location, and then the new location closed in like a day. Like it goes really fast. B7, I think that B7 is showing us. What is it showing us? It's I don't know if this is true, but it kind of implied, this is weird. It kind of implied the main character had a disease, that after watching Freddy Fazbear and Friends, he got like possessed by it, which made him into like an animatronic, which could just be him like having, which people suggested as the main theory about the book, where he has a mental condition that made him think he was a robot. Oh my gosh, that was another yawn that I've done. And so I just feel like it might imply that the Fazbear and Friends were made by Fazbear Entertainment to make kids possessed and like produce agony, because Billy, the main character of the story, describes many times when he was getting surgery for his body parts that it was agonizing. So I think that's it. Frailty, it just connects the Fazbear frights into the games, at least Stitch Wraith. Bobby Does Part 1, it's another one of those instances, I think, where Fazbear Entertainment is like switching a lot of things and adding new attractions and leaving new attractions. And I think that Bobby Dots Part 1 also, I feel like Bobby Dots Part 1, Haps, B7, Pressure, Cleithrophobia, Lally's Game, Somnophobia, Auto Construction, Animatronic Apocalypse, GGY, Storyteller, no, not GGY, Storyteller, but that's Part 2, Nexie, Drowning, The Monty Within, Bleeding Heart, B72, those all are pointing that Fast Entertainment is doing a remnant farm. So Fast Entertainment is basically like doing all of these things, making all these like attractions and stuff, so that they can get more remnant. I think that's what it's saying. And what else? Oh, Lally's game. I think that's just it's one of those remnant farm. I think it's just one of those remnant farm instances where. Wait, can you hear me, guys? Real quick. Let me see. I think you guys can hear me, right? Hello? I think it's just one. Oh, sorry. Yes, you guys can hear me. Sorry, I was fixing the issue on my part. And I think a lot of this game was just saying that there's some more remnant farms by Fast Entertainment, and basically Lally was, I don't know, Lally's an animatronic made by Fast Entertainment to go to people's homes and collect remnant from them by killing individuals. Cleithrophobia, I think, is another remnant farm. You can hear me? Great. Another remnant farm by Fast Entertainment where Cleithrophobia basically shows us that Fast Entertainment was selling a lot of products that could potentially kill people. Under construction, yeah, it's another one where Fast Entertainment made a VR headset thing, so that, and even though Fast Entertainment knew it was dangerous, they didn't prevent the main character Maya from using it, which I think is basically Steel Wool saying, hey, or Scott, or whoever's the main people writing these books, is basically saying, hey, Fast Entertainment does not care, and actually is kind of wanting these kids to die. And Animatronic Apocalypse, I don't know what that is. I'm not even gonna tie that to the games. Hello, Charlotte Night Shift. How you doing? I'm pretty sure you died before you were old enough to get a night shift. But if you are the book Charlie, then you somehow are able to survive. But that means you're probably a different version of Charlie that wasn't mentioned in the books. You know. Okay, moving on. Sorry, GGY. GGY was, I feel like, it wasn't my favorite. That's why I'm not gonna put it overall perfect. But you know, I'm just gonna change this. This is so too complicated for me. Quick, S plus. Sorry guys, I'll make it a little more simple. A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, and but I'll just give it Cleithrophobia, and then let me put this as, let me remove this one real quick, delete row, and this is gonna be F tier. Okay, this is a lot easier now. Okay, so A tier, this is all A tier stories. B tier, C tier, no, Frailty is a B tier story in terms of, well, in terms, okay, we're breaking, in terms of lore, Frailty is a C tier, and I think it's all perfectly ranked for in terms of lore and also enjoyment. Okay, the storyteller. Oh, I didn't explain GGY. Okay, GGY. I wanted to yell this to Matt Pat. I think it's 100% deconfirming Gregbot and basically affirming a different theory that I am holding on to. I forgot what I don't know if it's called anything, but it's like Gregory possessed, Gregory mimic, something like Greg mimic, something like that, where Gregory is possessed by the mimic, because multiple times they say that Gregory, in the book GGY, they say that Gregory acts like he's older than his age, almost like he's possessed by something older than his age, almost like he's possessed by the mimic. But yeah, it's just my theory. And on solid A tier story. Well, in terms of lore and storytelling makes it A tier, but in terms of lore, it kind of gives us the whole backstory of Gregory, something S plus tier. Storyteller, I think it's like a solid A tier. Storyteller is pretty good. It gives us more backstory on Edwin, how his life was before he died, sadly. Like how it gave us backstory on how at least Fast Entertainment CEO is non-malicious. Like, I do think Fast Entertainment is doing malicious things, but I think that's part of Mimic, like trying to possess the company or something, or Vanessa maybe. But I think that the owner itself of Fast Entertainment, Mr. Burrows, sorry, he's non-malicious, and he was basically just did this whole job just because, you know, he wants money. That's what the whole book says. But also, it's kind of interesting. Is he always wears purple, which is similar to William, but I think it's just like a I think it's just a reference. I don't think that's actually him. Okay, yeah, and I think the storyteller is probably pretty good, and it really just gives us the backbone for Security Breach and how the Mimic in Security Breach, and what I think is in Security Breach, the Mimic has already like infected everything, and so let me just close this. I don't know where I have this. Sorry. And so I think the storyteller is just kind of affirming the idea that the Mimic has like a metaphorical branches everywhere. Hello, Charlotte Life Shift. Welcome back. Yeah, I think that's what's happening in Storyteller. Okay, next one, Bobby Dots Part 2. I'm gonna put Bobby Dots Part 2 in probably B tier. It's not an A tier story, but it's a B tier because I thought it was pretty good. I'm putting B7 in A tier. I'm sorry. It has some themes that are pretty controversial, but I think the story in itself was pretty good, so I'm putting it in A tier. So Bobby Dots Part 2. I think it's a B tier. I enjoyed it. Actually putting it in A tier. I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed it pretty well, and I thought it was pretty fun, honestly. And it's pretty interesting because the whole book is about how it's kind of like a parallel to the Mimic, even though I think that the Tales of PizzaPlex are in the games, because there's two different. So there's like this program called, what is it? I forgot what it's called. The Bobby Dots, yes. Sorry. There's the Gen 1 Bobby Dots, which are digital, and Gen 2, which are physical. Which, it's kind of weird. And it's definitely not a parallel to the Mimic, because the Mimic is not good, while the Bobby Dots, the physical Bobby Dots are good. Hello, Casbear. Yo, it's famous YouTuber Casbear. What's up? And so I feel like Bobby Dots, the Bobby Dots Part 2, I just feel like the story. No, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, it's probably not a parallel to the Mimic, but there's two parts of the story, so that must mean something's important. But I really want someone else to make it like a theory about why it's important, because I can't really tell. But I feel like them making it two parts is definitely telling you guys, and us, like, hey, wake up! The story is important, and you guys need to pay attention to it. Okay, now next story, Nexi. So Nexi goes to I'll put Nexi right B tier. I didn't really enjoy Nexi that much. I was kind of just speed reading it. I didn't think it was really that fun. But what Nexi, it was about a girl that has like a robot, and it was supposed to be a normal robot, but she got like a broken up version of it. But because Nexi feels bad about her appearance, she relates to the robot. She's like, wow, we're both ugly in a way, and she starts to like the robot. But then the robot keeps asking for itself to be beautiful, which is kind of a parallel to be beautiful. Whatever. And Nexi keeps trying. And what's the girl's name? Nexi main characters. Oh, wait, sorry, main characters. FNAF. Okay. Astrid. And Astrid keeps trying to appease Nexi, but then Nexi eventually gets an endoskeleton, and Astrid is about to put Nexi's endoskeleton into it, but Nexi in the end she's like, nah, I'd win, and she kind of climbs, and it's really creepy. Let me show you the cover for Nexi. So this is what happens to Astrid after the whole story happens. So Astrid, the poor little girl, becomes like a skin suit for this animatronic doll, which is a little bit, maybe just a little bit, very disturbing. But we're not gonna get into that. It's just pretty disturbing. But I don't really feel like it adds anything to the lore, so I'm putting it at B tier. Actually, I'm putting if Haps goes there and Frailty goes there, then Nexi's around C. Then Drowning. I actually kind of pretty liked. And Drowning, I like Drowning a lot. I'm putting Drowning in B tier. It was about, so it's, are you sleepy? Yes, I am. It's almost 2 a.m. for me. I am very sleepy. So Drowning is about a girl that she goes into this like the VR headset almost, and then she goes through the PizzaPlex. No, she goes to the VR in like a virtual water park, and then she's supposed to be in there for like an hour, but she ends up being there for like 5 hours or something, which is longer than she was supposed to. And the girl in the pool. This is why I wanted to address Drowning. It's very interesting. A girl in the pool. They describe her as like grayish and having like, what they describe her is not really that important. What important is that eventually there's a scene where the main character goes into the house of the girl that's drowned in the VR headset, and she sees like old posters of the girl with her family, which is really interesting because it kind of implies that maybe she's Cassidy. And that's a big leap. I've watched a lot of Cyrus Squawk's videos, and he's made a lot of logical arguments about how that doesn't really make sense and how it's a really big logical leap. And I 100% agree with him for that. But on the other hand, it kind of maybe implies that at least Drowning was an MCI victim from the old days. And I feel like her being Cassidy would actually make a lot of sense. Because this is a little bit of a rabbit hole, but if Drowning is true, that means Cassidy is alive, which makes sense that she's not in UCN, which makes sense because on the end of the man of room 1280, the vengeful spirit. Oh wait, Cassidy is not the vengeful spirit. Huh. Never mind. Basically, the whole story is that people think that Drowning is about the girl that's drowned in the story Drowning. Sorry, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Is Cassidy. Is B7-2 a part of B7? Yes, it's part 2. And B7-2, I think I really like the story. It's B7-2 is a lot better than B7 itself, and I'll get to that in a sec. Okay, so I'm done with Drowning. Now we go to my arguably one of my favorite books, The Mimic, just because of how much it just like deep dives into who the Mimic is. Like, if you guys want to wait to read want to play Secret of the Mimic, do that. Sure, be fine. Be my guest. But if you want to know what the Mimic originated from, at least from the books, read The Mimic, the story. It's in, what is it? The Mimic's in Nexi, the book called Nexi. It's the last story, and it is honestly a really good read. Just because it's like a fun story, and also because like it gives us a reason why the Mimic is such a terrible person, like overall. Because the main character Edwin, he like basically, so long story short, his son dies after playing with the animatronic. Not because of the animatronic, but the son just dies after the animatronic. But the Mimic was a robot made by the main character Edwin for his son to play with. And Mimic, what it does is it mimics everything something else does. So if it sees someone eating food, it'll start pretending to eat food. If it sees someone going to sleep and like resting, it will try to do the same pose and rest also. So basically it mimics, which is the namesake, it's a mimic. Anyways, so Edwin gets really mad at the Mimic, and he just like and he beats it up like really badly. So he kind of imbues it with his agony. And so the Mimic after that does not hold back. And like the next story, like a couple months later, or a year later, or the same year, whatever, a bunch of people go into Edwin's home to collect things for fast entertainment. I guess in the end of the story, Edwin leaves his house to go somewhere, but which is not realizing it. The place he quote unquote went to is probably gonna be explained as Secret of the Mimic. But anyways, so the company tries to get the Mimic, and one of the team of workers put some legs on the Mimic to let it walk, but which is a terrible idea though, because the Mimic loves killing people. It doesn't love killing people, but the Mimic is now imbued with Edwin's agony, so it does everything he does but more violent. So it started grabbing the people and putting them in the freezer, like stuffing them like you would stuff food, or putting someone and like impaling that person through a hanger, like how Edwin used to put his clothes away. But it's a mix of him trying to mimic people, but also just being, after the agonies and beauty of the mimic, just kind of like making his system just basically evil. Because at one point, the mimic grabs someone by the back of his shirt. He grabs him and he slams him into the wall, making him die. And it's very gruesome. And it really just shows you at first that the Tales of PizzaPlex books are not afraid to hold back. And second, the mimic's a great villain for that. Third, yeah, so just kind of. Anyways, onwards. Tiger Rock. I'm putting Tiger Rock in an A tier. Tiger Rock is pretty good. It's about this guy that goes into a VR system. Yeah, funny enough, it happened again. And he meets Tiger Rock, which Tiger Rock is like the virtual manifestation of Mimic. Basically, if the Mimic ever got a glamour animatronic, it would be Tiger Rock. Let me see. It's Tiger Rock. Tiger Rock FNAF. This is what the Tiger Rock is, but without all the tentacles. But the reason why there's tentacles is because in one of the other stories, the storyteller, it does have tentacles. But whatever. That's what like the Mimic imagines itself looking like, a white tiger with a very fancy suit. So in the story, the Mimic is obviously, it's interesting because I think that the Mimic AI and the Mimic endoskeleton is definitely connected, because in one of the epilogues, which I'm gonna get to later, the Mimic has like this programming to rip people's arms off and limbs off. And so Tiger Rock, the virtual version of the Mimic, it carries on the idea. So Tiger Rock sees the main character, Kai, and he keeps trying to rip his arms out by pulling up the slide too hard, which makes his arms like dislocate. And then in the virtual world, he goes on like many forms, keeps trying to attack and rip off the main character Kai's arms. But eventually Kai gets out of the headset, but something very interesting happens, like very interesting. Tiger Rock manifests itself in real life. I'm not making this stuff up. So the Mimic, as the virtual Tiger Rock, somehow appears in real life, grabs Kai's arms and rips it off, and then Kai dies. Of course, a little kid dies. You can't survive your arms getting ripped off like that. But that's just really interesting, and I don't know how that's happening. I don't know how that happened, but whatever. It's pretty interesting in my opinion. Okay, onward to our next story, and some of our final stories. I'm really tired, and also, the ranking has been on for a while. Okay, The Monty Within. I think it's probably like an A tier book. I really liked it. It was kind of sad, but the main character, this guy gets possessed by Monty almost, which like this Monty's controlling half of his brain. And so Monty makes him do like terrible things. It makes him say something that breaks up, the main character's girlfriend. She has like a pimple on her nose, and the main character doesn't acknowledge that. He's trying to be nice, of course, but the Monty inside of his brain tells him to make a rude comment about it. And so basically what Monty does is, so Monty's in his brain, which basically this whole story is basically Stuhl saying, hey, Monty, not a great guy. Monty is not our favorite, because this whole story is about how basically it's about a lot of stuff, but the theme is just Monty's not a great person. Monty is just not a great person. Sorry for the Monty fans watching this. And then eventually Monty is just kind of mad at the person he's possessing. He's like, dude, I thought I was gonna have fun with you. You're being so boring. So he grabs like a saw and makes the guy's head go inside of it. It kind of just chops off his head. Yeah, just like that. It just chops off his head. Very graphic. This whole story all these stories are graphic, even though it's part of Tales of PizzaPlex, which if you don't know, look at Security Breach. It's like the opposite of scary. It's kind of the most family friendly you can get. But what this shows you is that it's very, very much not family friendly. At least the stories underneath the surface of this cool, glossy, shiny game. Okay, onward. Bleeding Heart. Unpopular opinion, but I'm putting it on A tier. I don't know why. It was so random and weird. It doesn't really have any connections to the games. Also, real quick, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to tell you guys what these last couple stories in connection to the games. So, the storyteller, I feel like the connection to the games is that basically the Mimic AI is taking over the PizzaPlex. The Bobby Dots Part 2, I don't really feel like it has that much connections. Tiger Rock is basically the Mimic can manifest itself from digitally to real. So maybe that's why Glitch Chat was able to attack Cassie's dad at the end of Security Breach and Help Wanted 2. I think that, I don't know if that's true, but Tiger Rock seems to imply that, yeah, this code can manifest itself in real life. Monty Within, it's basically showing us that in FNAF, Fast Entertainment has the resources to put a different subconscious in people's brain. And I feel like the Monty Within is basically just the story of Gregory, if you believe that Gregory is possessed by the Mimic, which I do believe. I've never read the FNAF books on my AO. Bro, you need to read it. You are missing out. I know I sound like the typical book reader where they're always like, oh, the book reader's such a nerd. Oh, the book reader keeps telling me how the books are so good. But no, I'm dead serious. This, like, I recommend the books heavily. And so the Monty Within, I think it's basically just a story about Gregory, Vanessa, and Jeremy. Just Jeremy from Help Wanted 2. Now, Bleeding Heart, I'm gonna get into that right now. So Bleeding Heart is about this guy that has, like, around Christmas time, he goes to the PizzaPlex. He grabs these, like, little robots in his hand. He puts it in his pocket, and the robots kind of go inside of his skin. And what they do is that they, like, he wanted them to make him, like, tattoos. No, he wanted them so he can give it to his crush that he likes. And the whole story is so sad. He likes his crush, and only by the end of the story, when he's too far gone, that he realizes that she's kind of been using him, and she kind of sucks. Period. So the little robots that he has, they, like, cut up his skin and to make it like tattoos. And so he makes it once accidentally, and then his crush looks at it, and she's like, "Wow, you're so cool." And then because he hears that, he just keeps wanting to do it. So he keeps getting more and more tattoos to please her. And it's just a really sad story. And then she keeps liking his tattoos, and she's always like, "Oh, make another one, make another one." But it's really hurting him. And one at the end of the story, it's really gross. Like, the robot, it cuts off a piece of its flesh, like pepperoni pizza or something. It's really gross. And he just has a piece of his flesh in his hand. It's really gross. But at the end of the story, once he realizes that she's been, like, basically using him, it has a really drastic turn. He just basically sees her, like, the whole scene, I feel like it's such a cool scene, so underrated. He sees her and says, "This is what you wanted." And then he looks at a tattoo book and he says, "I want all of these." And the robots inside of him just, like, literally just cut him up from the inside out. And then he goes to his storage room. He's telling his love about how he loved her so much. And then eventually his words fade out. So she opens a door from a storage room, and she follows, and she sees little bits of pieces of shapes on the ground, which is all his skin. So they, like, cut off, like, puzzle pieces of his skin. And then she eventually follows the skin pieces and blood all the way to her storage room, where all it is just one bleeding heart, which is the story it's from. And it's dark, but, like, I just think the story is really cool and interesting. Really random, but I think I'm actually gonna put Bleeding Heart in S+ tier. I don't know why, it's weird. B72, I think I'm gonna give that a solid A tier. I think I'm getting too many of these stories A tier, S tier, because I just enjoy them. I know most people kind of don't really like the books, but I actually want to really enjoy them. And B72 is one I particularly enjoyed. So the main character, B7, he's, instead of dying, which we all thought in the end of the book, he survives the, like, basically getting spring locked by two giant pressure plates. He survives. Okay, I abide Tails 8 for Cleithrophobia, but to be honest, B72 is better than it. Yeah, I actually really like B72. Yeah. Yeah, you should read B7 if you haven't read B7, because B72 is a continuation of it. But yeah, I really like B72, and there's not a lot of connections to the games, but I just think it's really cool. And the last scene, it's so sad, but, like, I'll just spoil this to you guys, yeah, unless you guys haven't read the book, which has been out for a while, let's be honest. But so if you guys haven't read it, just close your ears for a little bit if you guys have, or if you guys are not gonna read the books, like most of you guys are probably not gonna read the books. So the main character, like so the main character B7 makes himself into an animatronic, basically, and then the doctors are, wait, B7 is first or after B72? It's first. You should read a summary of it online. I'm not even kidding. Or just like watch the video about it, or audiobook, or just audiobook, or just get Haps. Like, it's a pretty good book, a story. Anyways, so like the main character's animatronic version, basically like it separates from the main character, turns into like a walking animatronic, and then the main character, the person he loves, is at the end is his grandma, and then it goes into her. And then, like, she knows that she has cancer and she's about to die, but she lies to the animatronic and says, hey, you should go inside of me, instead of the old guy Billy, and I'll give you the host. So, like, basically B7 is like a parasite. So it goes into the grandma, but then the grandma's about to die of cancer, so she's like laughing, and then she tells the robot that they're both gonna die because she's already gonna die from cancer, and then her and the animatronic both die. And Billy, the main character, Billy's just kind of standing there, and then he goes to like basically his only father figure, and then basically the whole story ends with the main character saying he doesn't know what he's gonna do in the future, but he's gonna explore the earth. I don't know. It's just a really cool ending. One of the only good endings in the book. I mean, his grandma dies, which is sad, but it has a pretty good ending. Anyways, Alone Together. I think it's I thought I would put it S+ tier, but I didn't have as much fun reading it, so I'm putting it A tier. But Alone Together is pretty good because it just tells you basically what ghosts are like in FNAF. So ghosts, they can interact with interact with objects. They're not like the games where, and the movies where, and normal media where they're just like, they can like phase through things. Like they can totally lift objects and touch things, and most people can't see them, but some people can. And I feel like Alone Together is also giving us the relationship a little bit of Mike and Crying Child. Like, it's telling us what it was like, because Crying Child or whoever's trying to say it's me to Michael, because it's me is basically all they can say. Is the story in story it talks about how the main character's dad is trying to talk to the main character and kind of almost hears from the main character even though he knows he's dead, because the main character, sorry, this is a little confusing, because the main character is actually a ghost, a little kid ghost, but he doesn't know that to the end of the story. And so the dad's like, I can almost hear him sometimes. I don't know why, but I can almost hear him. It's because the ghost is interacting with him, but he can't hear the ghost or see it. So he can just like hear whispers almost. Yeah, okay. That's it for Alone Together. Let's go Cleithrophobia. Cleithrophobia is S+ tier. One of my favorite stories, if not my, hold on quick. Why can't I put it up here? Cleithrophobia was a really good story, honestly, and I really liked it. Like, it gives us basically what FNAF 4 is. FNAF 4, there were some people thinking that it was just dreams, which I thought was a pretty good argument ever since the logbook came out. But Cleithrophobia say no, not really. And I feel like Cleithrophobia actually explains Midnight Motorist. So Midnight Motorist, after Midnight Motorist happened, it leads to a version of Cleithrophobia. So I think, hello Stacy Cakes, welcome to the stream. I'm about to end, so you kind of went the wrong time, but you can just watch me finish watching me while I finish the stream. But if you want to watch it before, you can just rewind it always to the beginning. And so I feel like Cleithrophobia, I feel like, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I feel like Cleithrophobia, it just basically gives us the whole story of FNAF 4, and I just feel like it's a really good story, so that's why I'm putting it S+ tier. And also I'm giving this the epilogues, so basically it's all the epilogues. I'll put it in B tier. It's pretty violent and pretty cool, like how violent it can get. There's like not really any revelations about it. It's just kind of the minute killing a bunch of teens, which, as much as that sounds like kind of mediocre, that's because it kind of is. Like, no offense to Scott's team, but I feel like they could have done something a little bit better. I mean, there's some pretty good. Oh, you're gonna leave now? Okay. See ya. Bye. I feel like the kids are like some other stuff. Like at the end, the mimic apparently dies, but I mean, we don't know that for sure because the rewind seems to apply. He came back somehow. And so I just feel like the epilogues don't really add anything to the wider story. Basically, only that the mimic eventually got coded to rip people's arms off and limbs off. The mimic itself sometimes isn't actually a bad person. It's just following bad AI, like following different commands. And basically, the mimic can shift into anything. Look, mimic spider FNAF books. Okay. FNAF books. I don't know if it's gonna be like an image of it. It's just forced on a yes. This is what happens in the books. The mimic becomes like a spider. It's really random and weird, but it kind of does. This is literally what it looks like. The legs out of his mouth. It's really strange, but it somehow does that because why not? And so yeah, it could do that now. All Tales canon. I think it's Tales reboot. So most everything, like the wide basis of events happen. Yeah, so like the mimic does get spring locked. Like the mimic. If you look at its design, I think it has some spring locks around it. FNAF. I don't know what I just typed in. The mimic. It has some like spring lock. This looks like a spring lock. Some of this looks like a spring lock. Maybe it's not, but it seems like at least the leg. It looks like it has some spring locks. So, Tales of the PizzaPlex. It might be a little bit different in the actual timeline than the mimic itself, but than the actual games. But I feel like the games are gonna be very close to the books, if not much one. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, also the mimic. No, I think that's it. Okay. Real quick, but before I leave, let me rate each one through each different tiers, and so I can have a fully good list, and now end the stream. Okay, so F tier, I'm gonna do the closest to the number is the best, the worst, and after that is better than it. So I think Animatronic Apocalypse is the worst, definitely. Okay, the worst out of these three is definitely, in my opinion, Lala's Game, Bobby Dots, I had Somnophobia, and then Bobby Dots. Then out of C tier, it's probably actually I kind of like Somnophobia. Bobby Dots, I'm putting it right here. It's probably gonna be best to worst. I mean, worst to best. It's probably gonna be, no, best to worst. So like, that's what I mean. But like, it's closest to the number. So the most C tier, like pretty good, is gonna be Frailty, then Bobby Dots, then Nexie. Then B tier, the thing at best of B tier is probably the epilogues, then Haps, then Drowning, then Haps. A tier, the best A tier is gonna be for me personally. Pretty hard choice. I think I'm gonna go with. Actually, I think the Monty Within is more of a B tier. I like the Monty Within, but it's more of a B tier, but it's better than both in my opinion, just in story wise. In like terms of preference, I think it goes. Let me go with Bobby Dots Part 2 after B7. The Help Wanted, then the Storyteller. I like the Storyteller. Then B7, the Bobby Dots Part 2, then some Cleithrophobia, Tiger Rock before some Cleithrophobia. B7 2 is gonna be before. No, I like B7 2 more than B7. And actually, Alone Together is gonna be more the Tiger Rock. No, I think it's right there. Oh, hello, you're back. Look, Cleithrophobia and Mimic equals Bird Trap. Huh? Interesting. Hello, Stacy Keeks, welcome back. Okay. So I think this is pretty good. And now my final ranking before I sleep. So I am so tired right now. I need some sleep. I'm so tired. Okay. Best, for my opinion, I love Pressure. So good. The Mimic is a very close second. I love the Mimic. Actually, Cleithrophobia is before that. I really loved Cleithrophobia, guys. It was a really good story. Okay. The Mimic. Let me do Cleithrophobia. I actually liked Cleithrophobia more in terms of just like more fun, in my opinion. But I do really like GGY. And then lastly, Bleeding Heart. Okay, this is finally my ultimate timeline. Ultimate ranking of the FNAF. Is Cleithrophobia canon? And Burn Trap Mimic. I think Burn Trap is the Mimic, and I do think Cleithrophobia is canon. I think all of the stories are canon. We don't know for sure, but I really do think so. Okay, so this is my ultimate list. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Stacy Cakes. Thank you, Casbear. Thank you, The Gamer. Thank you, Van Urban. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, all of you guys, for watching the stream. I hope you guys have an amazing time with your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.